4029 News at 5 starts now.
Two barges hitting Weber's Falls Lock and Dam.
From where I live, standing outside, I could still hear the barges hit the dam.
What officials are doing to secure the area.
People downstream preparing for flooding.
You can come down here and get your sandbags. We're trying to help as much as we can.
And we are tracking the Arkansas River levels for you. We'll have the latest on where and when those crests are going to occur.
We start with breaking news tonight. The National Weather Service says the water levels on the Arkansas River in Fort Smith could hit historic highs.
That's right. Darby, you're saying that they're predicting this river will reach more than 3 feet higher than it's ever been. That's catastrophic.
Yeah, and those are the words they're using. This just came down literally a few minutes ago, about 30 minutes ago, coming from the National Weather Service. I want you to take a look at this. Folks in Fort Smith and Van Buren, take notice. If you live near the river, if you don't even live that close to the river, this could affect you. Now, right now, we're at 30 feet. That's well above flood stage. The latest forecast is for 41 feet. That's 3 feet above anything ever seen. The last time it was anything close to that was in 1945. All right, and that's by early next week. Take a look at this. This is actually the graph that they've drawn out for us here. And a lot of this, I think, comes back to the fact that we're going to get a lot more rain in Kansas over the next 6 days. That's going to make things worse. All the lakes that feed into the river in Oklahoma, they're full. They're trying to release water, but a lot of that has to go in the Arkansas River. Now they're expecting 41 feet. Again, this is higher than 1990. This is higher than anything we've seen recently. This could affect areas that you wouldn't even think could get flooded. Now, we don't really know exactly what areas of Van Buren and Fort Smith will be flooded, but take the warning seriously as they start to come out over the next several days. Again, we're looking at this crest coming in early next week. We're going to have more details on this flooding. Of course, it's also going to affect areas of Sequoia and LaFleur County, and of course, into Franklin, Logan, and Johnson County as well. We're going to tell you more about the actual forecast here locally coming up.
In the meantime, Fort Smith and the River Valley area preparing as this floodwater makes its way down the river. Want to bring in 4029's Brett Rains. He's joining us now live. Brett, you are there to show us some of the problem areas.
Well, Paige, let me show you just a little bit of the impact from the flooding right now. We're live at Riverfront Park here in downtown Fort Smith, and take a look at this. What's normally green grass and a sound stage, it's now covered with water. You can't see the grass and you can't even see the stage. Now across town, the river is also close to flooding homes over there. On Riverland Terrace in Fort Smith, the river has flooded the backyard of several homes, and it's still rising, and it won't be long until the water could be inside homes. The people who live here were rushing to save what they could today. They were too busy to talk, but said they've been preparing for the past 3 days.
Everyone is aware that lives in those flood zones. They know what's going on. Everyone is taking precautions.
In Crawford County, volunteer firefighters at District 7 and Kibler are filling up sandbags. They say there are a handful of homes that are prone to flooding.
You can come down here and get your sandbags. We're trying to help as much as we can.
And in Crawford County, if you need them, you can also get free sandbags outside the emergency manager's office there in Van Buren, and here closer and right across the river in Oklahoma. They also have sandbags available in Moffett. Now, coming up tonight at 6, I asked the fire chief if people here should be concerned about what's happening on the river at Weber's Fall. That coming up tonight at 6. Live in Fort Smith, Brett Rains, 4029 News.
Okay, Brett, tonight, Oklahoma Department of Transportation confirms I-40 has just reopened. The Army Corps of Engineers doing their checks right now where a barge hit the lock and dam earlier today.
That's right. Oklahoma Highway Patrol says that there is a blockage right now. We understand it's underneath the dam. Let's bring in 4029's Taylor Pernally. He's joining us live with the very latest. Taylor, what can you tell us about this?
Right now, officials with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers have been inspecting the dam for structural integrity. The Weber's Falls lock and dam behind me here, they are expecting that inspection to be over with by 6 p.m. tonight. The barges hit hard. People miles away tell us they heard it. This is video, again, from around noon today here at the lock and dam. The barges were stuck on rocks near Spaniard Creek before coming loose thanks to floodwaters. Officials had boats on the water watching the barges, but the water was moving so fast they couldn't get close to it. The barges got around a bend before making it to the dam. Oklahoma Highway Patrol tells us they weren't sure if the dam would hold after impact. Now, the LaFleur County Emergency Manager Kim Wan says she is preparing parts of her county for potential flooding downstream. She says the Cowling area near the reservoir is one area that she is watching. Now, when the barges collided with the dam, the Sequoia County Emergency Manager says they were full of fertilizer. It is not clear yet what impact that will have on the area. And a Oklahoma Department of Transportation spokesperson says based on the evaluation that the Army Corps of Engineers is doing, they felt that OHP felt confident that the highways could reopen. Reporting live in Webbers Falls, Taylor Pinnell, 4029 News.
Okay, Taylor. And earlier today, we actually spoke to a local resident there. Her name is Sharon Hornback. She's lived in the area for years, but has never seen anything like this.
I've lived here my whole life, and I've been to that lock and dam many, many times, just specifically to watch the water as it comes through. And as I said, this is probably the first time in history that it's ever been this fast.
And to reiterate what Darby was saying, we do know the updated flows for the Arkansas River are expected to exceed the flows experienced in May 1990. That is according to the Army Corps of Engineers. That is the forecast, and those can change, but again, that is the latest right now.
The Red Cross is on standby tonight, ready to help people displaced by potential flooding. They say that local teams will make sure people have shelter, food, and water. Volunteers say that they're ready to open shelters if needed. There is massive flooding in central Oklahoma as well, and you can donate to the Red Cross if you want to help out the victims. As we mentioned, there's growing concern in Sebastian County tonight as those water levels continue to rise.
Let's bring in 4029's Cole Zimmerman. He spoke to a resident in Fort Smith whose job is now on hold.
Several businesses in the area are impacted by these rising waters here behind me. We spoke with Scott Garvin, who has worked at Union Pacific Railroad for 41 years, and he tells us that numerous trains will be on hold because of the flooding. While this will impact the railroad for several days to come, Scott says his immediate concern is for his community.
Yeah, I'm concerned about people's jobs and about the safety of the community. You know, the people over at Fort Gibson and people at Moffett, Oklahoma have all been evacuated. You know, Weber Falls has been evacuated. The water keeps on coming up and coming up. It could be catastrophic, and I don't know how bad it's going to be.
Garvin says that over the next few days, the only trains that are going to be running will likely be work trains until more of this water recedes. In Fort Smith, I'm Cole Zimmerman, 4029 News.
And now for the rest of the week ahead, we're expecting hot and humid weather.
That's right. Let's get back to Darby with a look at the forecast. Darby, what are we talking about?
All right, let's go ahead and take a look at it here. Now, here's part of the problem here, folks. All these storms now breaking out across Kansas. They're kind of isolated. This isn't really the main problem, but getting more rain this weekend and early next week is going to exacerbate the problem on the Arkansas River. It runs right up through Wichita toward Colorado. So in an area that we don't want that rain to fall, but it is falling and will continue over the next several days. In our area, at least, we're looking at good weather at the moment. Temperature is pretty hot, mid-80s in northwest Arkansas, upper 80s in the River Valley. So as we go throughout the evening, pretty quiet. That's nice to hear. To see that. Pretty quiet conditions for us, and then mid-80s as we go into tomorrow afternoon, northwest Arkansas and in the River Valley. Really great weather for us. Just seeing the river again continue to rise. Lows dropping to around 70, up around 90 again tomorrow, and that's going to be the theme the next several days. We've got more chances of severe weather next week. We're going to tell you more about that coming up.
And because of a tornado damage over the weekend, appointments for patients of Mercy Clinic Cardiology on Phoenix Avenue have been moved, we know. So if you have to go there, you'll have to go to the 3rd floor of Mercy Tower. That's west on Rogers Avenue. And the Mercy Clinic Primary Care is on Towson Avenue, is closed right now because of tornado damage. Those patients need to go to the Convenient Care Clinic on Zero Street.
3 people were injured in Jay, Oklahoma after a reported tornado touched down there last night. This is a look at the damage. Oklahoma Highway Patrol says people were trapped inside one home, but were able to get out without injuries. Late last night, we spoke to a homeowner who had nowhere to hide during the storm.
We just up and got in our vehicle and left. We drove away from it because we knew there wasn't nowhere safe in the house because we don't have a storm shelter or nothing to get into. So we just got in our vehicle and drove the opposite direction.
Officers say several power lines were downed in the storm. A few homes were destroyed.
A tornado causing some injuries in the town of Carl Junction, Missouri. Carl Junction is just north of Joplin, not far from Golden City. Several people were injured as they marked 8 years since the deadly Joplin tornado. Homes, fences, and utility poles all damaged.
And we really wanted to go into Briarbrook because that's where most of the severe damage is, but they won't let us in. No, it's so sad.
Have you seen anything like this before?
I mean, back in 2011 when the Joplin tornado hit the exact same day, but I was 11, so I don't really remember much from then.
First responders went door to door to check on people. There were no serious injuries.
In central Missouri, the capital city was hit hard last night by a tornado. It has been given a preliminary rating of EF3. Michael Mahoney is with our Missouri sister station and shows us the damage from Jefferson City, Missouri.
A powerful tornado hit the Missouri state capital city of Jefferson City last night around midnight. The cleanup is underway, and as you can see here, this powerful storm that struck when almost everybody in Jefferson City was already in bed and were only alerted by virtue of the sirens that went off in the moments before. Fortunately, no one was killed during the storm, but they have a lot of cleanup work to do, as you can see by the debris at this gas station, the drive-in you just looked at, and an apartment complex nearby. Amazingly, as we mentioned, nobody was killed in this storm. The Jefferson City Police say that everybody has been accounted for so far, although, of course, there were injuries from the storm that struck just before midnight and badly damaged the state capital city of Missouri, Jefferson City. I'm Michael Mahoney in Jefferson City.
Memorial Day weekend quickly approaching, and folks are getting ready on their boats. So what you need to know to stay safe on the lake.
The Atlantic hurricane season begins next week. I'm Aixa Diaz in Washington. What NOAA and FEMA want you to know about what to expect.
Taking a live look at Lock and Dam 16 at Weber's Falls there on the McClellan-Kerr Arkansas River Navigation System, where those two massive barges slammed into the dam earlier today. Oklahoma Department of Transportation does confirm Interstate 40 has just reopened. They figure it's safe right now for traffic to go over the bridge. Officials are watching closely to see if the damage caused any increased flooding in this area. We'll keep you up to date.
All right, one positive update. Well, let's get a check of traffic right now. We are taking a live look from our Rogers camera in Embassy Suites. You can see the northbound lane's a little bit backed up right now on Interstate 49 there. Typical spot this time of night. In northwest Arkansas, you can also see in Bentonville and in Rogers along the interstate a couple of slow spots there because of construction. In the River Valley, though, no major signs of any congestion. If we hear of any other trouble spots, we'll of course let you know. To visit now, Oklahoma City Council settling for $175,000 following a death in Bricktown. In September, Wesley Seeley fell into the canal and was electrocuted when he touched wires from a broken light fixture. According to a newspaper called News OK, Seeley's mother sued the city to block the video of the accident from surfacing. A hearing in that case is set for Friday. A Van Buren man, Brandon Gann, also hurt by the electrical current. He was doing this while trying to help Seeley. Gann did recover.
The government is one step closer now to combating robocalls. The U.S. Senate has passed a bill to put an end to these illegal robocalls. However, the measure wouldn't eliminate all unwanted calls. It would give regulators more tools to go after scammers. The bill has support from both the telecom industry and consumer groups, and both Democrats and Republicans have backed it.
There are only robocalls that drive every family in America crazy every single day. So that's why we're partnered here.
It would also push phone companies to adopt new technology to combat fake phone numbers that are popping up there on your caller ID. Well, as tornadoes tear through the Midwest, the East Coast and the Gulf states are preparing for hurricane season.
That's right. Today, federal officials shared their 2019 Atlantic outlook. We have 4029's Aixa Diaz reporting from Washington with their prediction tonight.
NOAA is predicting an average of 12 named storms this hurricane season and reminding residents the time to plan ahead is now. A week before the start of the 2019 Atlantic hurricane season, NOAA releases its outlook, predicting 9 to 15 named storms, with 4 to 8 of those becoming hurricanes and 2 to 4 of those intensifying to a Category 3 or higher.
The key message is we're expecting a near normal season, but regardless, that's a lot of activity. You need to start getting prepared for the hurricane season now.
NOAA says it's using new satellites to improve hurricane forecast models while working with FEMA to ensure public safety.
We are very dependent on each other. We are dependent on that forecast to make sure that we can muster an effective response. And that's a response from FEMA, and it's a response at the state and local level. FEMA also says it's currently on the ground in the Midwest, providing assistance to tornado-ravaged communities. NOAA says the severe weather surrounding this latest outbreak was well forecast, but unlike hurricanes, tornadoes cannot be predicted days in advance.
Right now, the tornadoes are what we call subgrid scale, so we don't have the capability to actually predict tornadoes. We can only predict the potential of tornadoes.
FEMA officials are reminding homeowners to protect themselves with flood insurance. They say tenants who live in apartments need to make sure to have renter's insurance. In Washington, I'm Aixa Diaz.
Well, the Atlantic hurricane season begins next Saturday, June 1st. It goes through November 30th.
As we head into Memorial Day weekend, many folks usually go out boating on Beaver Lake, but right now water levels are very high there as well. Beaver Lake Fire Department wants you to be extra careful if you do go out. Wear your life vest anytime you're on a boat, and be sure to check your boat before heading out on the lake. And be sure to bring lots of water on board too.
We'll see, it could be somebody that's maybe dehydrated. It can be somebody that's fell in. The water is still somewhat cool, so of course your temperatures in your body is going to drop. We can see people's hitting debris, maybe ran aground somewhere.
Now, if you're planning on swimming, you also need to consider using a life vest and know your limits when in the water. This a live look at the lake. It's pretty hot and humid out there today. That's going to be the case for a while, but all in all, pretty nice day to spend outside.
Yeah, we know this type of weather will stay the same for the rest of the weekend, which is good news, especially for Memorial Day.
Yeah, no kidding. Lots of folks get out with their families, have picnics and
To
whatever.
be on Beaver Lake.
Darby, it's going to be hot and humid though, huh?
Yeah, definitely is. But again, it's the Arkansas River we want to focus on here, at least for a little bit. And you know what? Let's go ahead, make sure we go back here in time a little bit. And I want to show you this right here, folks. This is over the next 6 days, and notice what happens here, all that rain falling over the Central Plains. All right, we're talking 2 to 6 inches of additional rain over a pretty large swath of Kansas into parts of Oklahoma right here. Right along the river. You can see the river running right through here. So it's going to feed into the Arkansas River. It's going to eventually feed into our area as well. That's part of the reason we're seeing the increase in the river forecast for Fort Smith and Van Buren. Of course, the other part is all the lakes in northeast Oklahoma. They're all full, so those are filling up too, and they're releasing that water into the river. I mean, there's nowhere for this to go except eventually downstream into our area. So if you didn't see this before, I want to make sure you're aware. By early next week, all right, we're going to have the Arkansas River as it's currently forecast, and the forecast could change. It certainly changed today. They upped that forecast quite a bit for the amount of water they're expecting in the Fort Smith Van Buren area. And it could change again if we get less rain maybe in the plains, then it could drop again. That'd be great. But right now they're forecasting 41 feet by early next week, 3 feet above anything anyone has ever seen. So again, if this pans out, there'll be parts of Fort Smith and Van Buren that flood that have never flooded before. So take those warnings seriously. And again, as that water starts to encroach, there are going to be people who are probably going to have to evacuate. Now, off to our north and west, here's where we've got those storms across Kansas. We had storms in our area last night. Got this picture from Sandra Dalton Cootie there near Jay, and we can see this large wedge tornado. We already saw the damage from it. We're lucky no one was killed from that one last night. We're lucky there were only 3 minor injuries. But anyway, you can see tonight, much quieter. We like seeing this. Lows in the 60s to around 70. Tomorrow, just warm and humid. Little bit of a breeze, but really no big deal. Now, our in-house model tries to bring in a chance for a shower or storm late Friday night and Saturday morning. We'll see. I think for the most part as we go into Friday and Saturday, mostly dry conditions, but we'll watch there late Friday night. And then we'll have another chance as we go into Sunday morning as some showers and storms try to develop off to our north and west and get in here. We'll call it a 30% chance Sunday morning. As we can see in northwest Arkansas, most of Memorial Day weekend is dry, mainly just kind of watching things Sunday morning. Memorial Day looks okay, it's hot and humid. Then we're going to call Tuesday a severe day because of that threat, again, of severe storms coming in late in the day Tuesday, especially into Tuesday night. River Valley, we're calling severe days right through the weekend into early next week because of that river flooding again, and then also because of the severe threat coming in late Tuesday into Tuesday night. Staying hot and humid before we cool off a little bit early next week, midweek next week. If you'll stay with us, we'll be right back after the break.
Welcome back tonight. A new study that shows younger healthcare consumers are paving the way for a less traditional way of accessing healthcare.
Yeah, ABC's Maggie Rulli has more on this latest study.
From getting groceries delivered with just one click to finding their future soulmate through a swipe, younger generations are used to having it all in the palm of their hands.
I mean, I definitely use apps for like everything.
And that seems to include their health care. Do you have a primary care physician?
I do not. I do not, actually.
Not really. Do any of your friends have primary care doctors that you know of?
It's probably 50-50.
According to a new study by Accenture, more and more millennials and Gen Zers are now turning to digital apps and walk-in clinics instead of traditional doctor's offices, with only about half of Gen Zers and 2/3 of millennials having a primary care physician. That's compared to over 80% of baby boomers.
I like the idea of one person to tell whatever's wrong, and then from there we go from there.
The study also shows that when considering traditional in-person care, millennials were 2 to 3 times more likely than baby boomers to be dissatisfied with face-to-face care because of the convenience of appointment times and location options. And when it comes to the effectiveness of care, Gen Zers are even more unhappy, with over 30% dissatisfied.
It's in my hand, it's easy, I can do it in a few minutes, and it doesn't require me to take an extra step in the process.
Millennials are set to become the most populous generation in the U.S. this year, and their choices could change the entire industry.
The world's like evolving, and that's like a more modern way to keep in touch with your doctor.
It's a trend that Doctors on Demand, a virtual doctor's office, has built their business around.
That population is saying, I want to see my doctor right away, on demand, and I want to do that from the comfort of my home.
With a new generation of patients taking charge of their health care, providers have no choice but to pay attention.
The key players in the industry are seeing the trend, they're understanding what's coming, and they're starting to create alternative channels that align to these interests.
Maggie Rulli, ABC News, New York.
The Corps of Engineers have completed their assessment of the Weber's Fall lock-in dam.
That's right. Right now we know water conditions do not allow anything more than a surface investigation, but here's what we know from that. So take a look. This is video again. They believe only minimal structural damage has been done. They don't believe there are any integrity issues. 3 of 18 gates cannot fully close because of debris. And because of water conditions, they cannot visually confirm what is in them, but they do believe that debris or barge pieces is the next step to see if those move down the water. Once water conditions do allow, they're going to have a full investigation, and we're going to be on this for you. We hope to have even more information at 6 o'clock.
Well, that's our time for now. Thanks for joining us.